Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the East Brandywine Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Thursday, August 4th. Just a reminder, a recording device will be used during the meeting this morning. And I'm going to open up for public comment for agenda items and remind everybody rules for conduct of public meetings established by Resolution 2001-08. The time allotted to each individual making a comment shall be 3 minutes unless otherwise set by the presiding officer. Additional public comment may be granted at the discretion of the presiding officer at the conclusion of the meeting. Do I have any public comment for agenda items? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the minutes of the previous meeting, Board of Supervisor minutes, July 7th, 2022, and the Board of Supervisor minutes, July 21st, 2022.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes
I'll
for
second.
the Board of Supervisors meeting on July 7th and July 21st.
And I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Authorization to pay bills and approve the payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills
I'll second.
and approve the payroll.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we don't have any reports, but I'm going to turn it over to old business for Matt Van Loo for the award of 2022 road program contract.
Thank you. On Tuesday, July 26th, bids were open for our 2022 road paving project. The bid is for repairs and overlay of Gloucester Drive, Berkeley Drive, some minor repairs to Raleigh Drive and Timber Pass, and their reconstruction of a portion of Township Road. This portion is from Seven Springs out to the Mount Ida Trailer Park. We received one bid from Long's Paving of Quarryville. Long's has, in the past, has done one paving job for the township in 2017, which was an asphalt overlay on Lindell Bridge and the approach roadways. And this was part of the bridge repair project, which was completed along with Upper Euclid Township. The estimator for Long's Paving is Howard Jones. He was previously with Dan Malloy Paving and has completed, Malloy has done the due to only one bid, I asked Kyle Turner of Cedarville Engineering to check on unit prices compared to other recent bid contracts, and he found that these individual line items were comparable to the standard right now. So I respectfully request the board to approve the bid from Long's Paving Incorporated for a base price of $259,714.60.
Matt, I have a question. What was in the budget for that project?
Just about that amount of money. I believe it was $260,000 was in the budget.
Okay, so it fell within the budget.
Yes,
All right, thank you.
180 from liquid fuels and the remainder from the township.
Thanks.
Matt, are you having them do the extra items too?
Those are in there in case they are needed, but usually it's not needed.
But are you authorized, do you want the board to authorize that those extra items be taken if the contractor believes they need to be?
I'm going to look to see what the recommendation was from our engineer.
Well, we can always approve as is, and then,
This is the base bid.
yep.
They can come back to for change order or whatever.
Okay.
I'm okay with it. You go with it, Carl?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay.
All right, I make a motion to accept the bid for paving.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Luke now for the annual triathlon at Marsh Creek State Park.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have a request from the organizers of the Marshman Triathlon to use a portion of state roads located within East Brandywine Township. Included with their application is a description of the route and the traffic control officers they intend to provide, as well as proof of insurance listing the township as additionally insured. I'm respectfully asking the board for permission to write a letter similar to the one that is in your packet from last year. It would be directed to PennDOT, indicating that the township has no reservation about the use of those roads for this event for 2022.
Any questions?
I don't have any. I make a motion that we send the letter. I guess that's the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to the fire department now for the East Brandywine Fire Company report recommendation for EMS service providers.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Morning.
Joe Edwards, East Brandywine Fire Company. Before I get into the EMS portion, and I know it's not our normal time to report, but the firehouse has made great strides with the renovation within the last week and a half. If you have an opportunity to stop in, you can finally see close to what the final project is going to be. We are hampered by the fact that the elevator company cannot be there till the beginning of September, when they were going to be there in July, but if you have an opportunity now, it's finally starting to very much shape up, and you can see what it's turning out to be. So that's all I got on the fire side. The fire chief, myself, and Ken Ader were tasked with examining and looking at options for the township for EMS coverage for 2023. A few months ago, we stood here with the representative from Tower Health, and he assured us that they would be at Brandywine Hospital, only to find out a couple months later that that organization was closing their operations at Brandywine Hospital, which left the southwest portion of East Brandywine uncovered. Also, with the closing of Brandywine Hospital, it has left the county EMS in a state of disrepair right now, with times, travel times, call volumes, and whatnot. So we have a daunting task to figure out what we're going to do for coverage here. Two potential EMS services that could cover this township would be the Westwood Fire Company Ambulance Service, where they're located at the West Brandywine Township building, as well as Wagontown Fire Company. And we have the Minquist Fire Company located at 282 in Norwood Road in Downingtown, and they are about to move in to put another unit at the Thorndale Fire Company on Lincoln Highway in Thorndale. So those are the two EMS services that we sought out to cover East Brandywine Township. Both of those services have indicated that in the 4901 box that is on your screen, that they would cover that area with no additional charge till the end of 2022, because the coverage that we have for that area will go out of service September 1. So both Westwood and Minquist have indicated to us that they would seek out no additional funding to cover that area. To put that in perspective, last year in that box, there was there was 42 calls total over the course of the year. So for the final quarter of the year, if the trend was the same, you're talking about 10 or 12 calls that they would cover. So that's where we stand for 2022. With that being said, the EMS world has changed significantly. East Brandywine Township has 298 EMS calls. You may ask me, why isn't the East Brandywine Fire Company contemplating putting an ambulance in our new fire station? 298 calls is non-sustainable for an EMS freestanding unit. You need about 800 calls. So for us, we wouldn't be able to provide that service. The cost would be insurmountable, plus what we would bring back in would not cover the cost of that service. So we do have to seek outside resources. The proposals that I will give to you are just proposals, is what we have found moving forward, especially with our budget coming up. I don't anticipate the board making a concrete decision this morning. I would anticipate that once we give you the proposals, the fire chief, myself, and Ken could work with you in talking to both entities to see what we could negotiate. Both entities have said that this is their starting point and it was negotiable. So let me tell you what they have given to us. In your packets, you should have both of the organization's 2022 budget, their recent audits, and what they may have asked. So for instance, the first proposal from the Westwood Fire Company to cover all of East Brandywine Township is 5% of the assessed value of the township. And for 2023, that proposal to cover EMS in all of East Brandywine Township would be $180,000. If they covered just that 4901 portion of the township, they would be asking for $19,000. Their ambulance, as I indicated, is located at the West Brandywine Township Building and the Wagontown Fire Company. They also cover and will be covering quite a few of the western townships for ALS. They currently cover Wallace Township, West Brandywine Township, West Cowan, and Valley Township exclusively. The second proposal I have is from the Minquist Fire Company in Downingtown, and their proposal for this coming year is $152,000, $152,250. What they have indicated, that is for the entire township to be covered. They have also indicated that in lieu of their ambulance club membership, which they solicit the East Brandywine Township residents that they cover, they would consider that a membership for all residents of East Brandywine Township, and they would not bill out-of-pocket fees for any ambulance call for a resident of East Brandywine Township. Those folks are being located, as I indicated, on 282 in Downingtown. They currently cover a large portion of East Brandywine, and then their new unit is going up in Thorndale at the Thorndale Fire Company. In case the gentleman who runs Minquist Fire Company EMS is located in the audience today, Andrew Stewart. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Minquist. Both Minquist and Westwood said this is the starting point of their proposals. Both of them have indicated that they would like to talk to the board and come up with an amicable cost, an amicable contract with you guys. Certainly Vince, myself, and Ken are willing to work hand in hand with the board because, you know, we're undertaking things. The budget for last year was minimal for EMS coverage in the township. Put these in perspective, Wallace Township pays $100,000 for their EMS right now. West Brandywine Township pays $100,000, and West Cowan, I believe, is $125,000 for EMS coverage. What I'm told is that the EMS in Chester County got together in a collaborative meeting and wanted to try and get all of the companies that provide EMS on par, that they're not baiting township against township or units against units to say, I can offer you the service for $10, you can offer it for $15. So they want to try and be uniform into what they're asking for township coverages. And that's why there's a significant increase in what we used to pay in East Brandywine Township for EMS coverage as opposed to what the potential ask is for next year. I have limited knowledge of how they operate, how they continue to utilize their funds. That's why we asked both organizations to provide you with their budgets and their audits. I will say that both will be staffed with paramedics and EMTs, so it would be an ALS, BLS service. Both are staffed 24/7, and both could serve the township. And I'm willing to answer any questions that you may have that I might be able to answer. If not, we'll just defer and I can go back to the organizations and ask them for you.
I have just two that pop up immediately. The first is, right now, you said Minquist covers a large part of East Brandywine currently.
They, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Would you say a quarter or half of the, obviously?
3/4 they
Okay,
probably
so
cover
three-quarter.
now.
And what's our price that they're charging currently, Minquist?
I'll defer that to Luke.
$7,000 is what's budgeted for a contribution to Minquist.
So, just so that everybody's clear, currently, we pay $7,000 for 3/4 of East Brandywine, and
The 4902 and the 4903 is covered all by the Downingtown Minquist Ambulance Service.
okay, we pay
The-
$7,000, but to add in the 4901, it's $93,000 in total for the year, is really what it boils down to, or more, actually.
More. It's actually
a hun-
more.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
100 and, yeah, okay, so it's, so clearly, we have a job to respond to the residents for ambulance service, but I think that, you know, if we took West Brandywine, I think you said West Brandywine was $100,000 and Wallace was $100,000 for everything. I think that's a concern for East Brandywine, so we'll have to.
Those, Kyle, those figures are what I understand. I mean, we could reach out to both of them and say, what is the, I live in West Brandywine. I know they levied a EMS tax to cover that $100,000, separate from any other fire thing. I don't know what Wallace does. And I don't know if it is a concrete 100. It could be more.
Right.
I don't know what it is exactly, but
How many residents are in West Brandywine? Do you know off the top of your head? No? Okay, I was just curious.
no, I don't know what the, keep in mind also that West Brandywine, while it's covered by us fire-wise at Freedom Village, they have a ton of EMS calls there that ambulance service covers, the Westwood ambulance service covers. Both of the services, Andrew, I think you have going to have 4 units up and running?
3 with the potential for a 4th during the day.
So they'll have 3 with the potential with a 4th during the day. Westwood is about at the same amount also, 3 with,
What did we pay Westwood in 2022?
they didn't cover anything in 2022 here.
I'm sorry, Tower.
I think as Luke indicated, I think that 7,000 was split in half, if I'm not correct.
I think there were two $7,000.
Oh, 7,000.
But, yeah, let me reserve the right to refer to the budget, but my expectation would have been that the total EMS budget would be 2 entries of $7,000.
Okay. I don't know what that answer was, so.
Right, and
I guess my last question would be, I know you said you would anticipate an additional maybe 12 calls for the remainder of 2022 for 4901. What was our total EMS calls for the year in East Brandywine with all?
298.
298?
Yeah. Total EMS calls in East Brandywine Township was 298. And like I said, the benchmark to put an EMS service in the township would be about 800 calls.
Yeah, and I
So-
think you hit the nail on the head with Freedom Village being probably the biggest, and that's not even in our district, but
Right.
Freedom Village would probably be the biggest outcry for EMS service, and I'm sure that the numbers will show in West Brandywine, that's probably where 90% of their calls came from. All right, so I guess, just speaking out loud, because we have representation from one squad here right now, I would say, clearly, East Brandywine should be paying their fair share. I mean, that's understood, without even thinking about it. If you're telling me that Wallace, Euclid, and West Brandywine are paying, between $100,000 and $125,000 for each entity, I think that clearly we were getting away pretty cheaply for services provided. That being said, I think, to jump that magnitude it's just too much for the township to bear. So I think we would have to go to the drawing board with both entities. But I'll leave it up to you guys for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. First of all, thank you for doing the research to make a recommendation to, sorry, bear with me, camera issues here.
Don't make me look fat.
Right now, it's not showing anything at all.
Oh, good.
So, always an adventure trying to work the cameras and talk at the same time. Like I said, thank you for doing the research and meeting with them. For the purposes of the township's decision-making process, to appoint someone to serve the south and west portion of the township, is there any service-related criteria the board should consider, such as response time or training, that would favor one provider over the other?
Well, I think for the recommendation from the fire service, since both were losing ALS service from Brandywine Hospital, both services that we solicited proposals from provide MICU services, and that is ALS, BLS combined. So in that regard, that's apples for apples. You always like to go with the closest ambulance service. That southwest corner of Red Maple and Callan Meeting House Road, between the Westwood Fire Company and the proposal that Minquist is going to be at Thorndale Fire Company, literally is 0.1 mile difference right there. So again, that's almost a even split to that portion of the township. If they're at Thorndale and the other company's at West Brandywine Township building, it's one house is closer to West Brandywine, one house is closer there. We'd like to go uniformity with that from the firehouse standpoint. Again, completely up. We can designate any area and tweak what they call the fire box cards as to who covers where. But if we went with the closest, it's almost dead even to that spot. Second calls, we currently are what they call AVL, as how we operate the entire fire department, which is the closest available units come. So if there was a designation that Minquist Fire Company covered that, or anywhere in the township for that matter, and a certified ambulance was driving through the township as a second call, they would be alerted that we have a second call to respond because it's set up as AVL at this time. Same way with the fire service, we go with the closest 5 engines based on address in this township. So I do recommend that we pick an ALS service, which by default we will be doing. If you pick by the closest, you know, it's going to be, somebody's going to be mad by 0.1. So, you know, you can't go that way, but so they're closest. As for training, the training comes from the state of Pennsylvania. All the EMTs and all the paramedics go through the same level of training. You know, it may come down that we want to dig even further as to see what the Westwood call volume is, what the Minquist call volume is, to see what their availability to cover the township would be. I'm thinking out loud with that one because I didn't ask that question to them, but it may be in their annual reports that they provided the board. I didn't get a chance to look at that. You know, if Westwood has 10,000 calls a year and Downingtown has 5, or vice versa, well, their availability to cover the township might not be as good. And again, that's just me thinking out loud with that.
Right. I appreciate the detail there. I think, you know, my recommendation to the board on proceeding is that the board would work directly with the EMS providers based on the recommendation of the fire company to work with either of these 2 qualified providers, and to have that discussion about an appropriate contribution be direct between the board or the budget committee and those EMS service providers. So I just want to prepare you, that would be my recommendation to the board in terms of the next steps in engaging one of these companies for 2023. And if you'll indulge me, I do have just one additional question, and that is, you had, for Minquist, a whole township price point. Did Lindquist indicate a price for just the two parts they currently serve, what they would ask for in 2023?
No, and that may be an error on our side, because we knew that they were moving to Thorndale, and we also knew that we needed to cover the entire township since Tower. So I didn't break it out and say, give me a price for these 2/3 and this last third. When we first approached Westwood Fire Company, the idea was that we would be seeking coverage for that one box right away, and what would that cost? And that's when they said, we'll cover it for free for this year, but moving forward, that would be not $19,000 if they covered that one area for 40-some
The
calls.
14901 area?
Yes,
Is
for 40.
19,000 for 2023
For-
from Westwood?
Yes, sir, for 42 calls.
Right.
But they wanted to cover the entire township,
180,
180.
yes, sir. They use the gentleman who runs that is John Sly, and John indicated that they use a formula for every township that they cover of 5% of the assessed value of the township. And for 2023, 5% of our assessed value, he indicated to us, was $180,000. I didn't do that math, so.
Yeah,
5%, I mean, our tax rate is in mils, not percentages, so the
He said,
5% of our assessed value would be in the millions.
180,000 would be 0.25 mils, he indicated to me.
What was that, Ken?
180,000
Right.
provided to me for your guys. See, he said that translates to 0.25 mil.
Right,
Right, that also translates into a 10% tax increase.
right.
I'm purely the messenger over here.
I got you, yeah.
5% of your assessed value, it's only 0.25. It's actually 0.0025, but you're right. That would be a 10% tax increase.
Yep.
Just
Yeah.
for that.
When Luke, you indicated that you're looking for some direction. The fire chief, Ken, and myself, within the last week, were able to get the budgets and the audits from the two entities. And I believe that the fire chief, Ken, and I were going to formulate a letter to the Board of Supervisors as to what service we thought would be the route to go. And then the way we are, then the ball would be in the supervisor's lap once we make the recommendation as to negotiate what that price is. That's not going to fall on our side. We'll give you the recommendation within the next couple weeks. So, because you're going to have to start to, talk to these folks, whoever it is, and say, hey, we're at 2 different points in price here, and come up with that. But I think that's what you want from us, correct?
Well, at the risk of speaking for the board, I feel the fire company's real value add in this process has been your professional opinion about who's qualified and who can provide the best service to that portion of the township that's losing its primary provider. What I hear is that on that front, it's essentially a wash between the two different companies. And I think I would like to hear an official recommendation from the fire company as to which company you would recommend the board consider. But I do think that the dialogue about an appropriate contribution to whichever combination or individual providers the board does appoint is a dialogue between the budget committee or directly with the board.
Sure.
Right.
And like I said, both Ken and the chief and I are absolutely on board with that, willing to formulate a proposal. Kristen's colleague said that we couldn't do it, offer these numbers behind, we were going to have a meeting just to present it to these guys, but that's why we're in an open forum, because he said we couldn't just have a meeting with them, so.
I would be careful. You mentioned audits, and what the information they provide in no way are audits. There are tax returns, a budget. Westwood only gave you a budget. And Minquist's financial stuff is outdated, but be that as it may, they all show that they're about the same position financially. So neither one of them with the stale
Yep.
data.
Okay.
But they're not audits. It's a review, financial statement, which is stale now. It's two years old, and the 2 tax returns, and a budget.
Hey, Joe, just one last thing, and I see, obviously, we have Minquist representation here, but we don't have Westwood. One other thing I would like, if you could just, obviously, I can say it to Minquist, but to Westwood, could you ask both firms to give a bid for the breakdown of the 3 entity part breakdowns of East Brandywine Township instead of a whole? Meaning, right now, I know you just got the one for $19,000 from Westwood for 4901. If they can break it out into, because it might come down to the fact that we have to split this up between 2 entities, and that would give us a little bit more numbers to crunch.
Sure. I can reach out, and certainly Andrew is, like I said, in attendance, so he can.
Yeah, so an individual budget for 4901, 4902, and 4903, as well as the whole package. And that way, if it comes down to, clearly the 2 of them are not going to be working together on this, everybody can have a fair opportunity to bid it out in 3 increments, and we can decide if we have to pick it up.
I'll convey anything you want to the 2. And like I said, the chief will formulate a letter to you, the 3 of you and Luke, and give you an indication of, what our recommendation would be for you.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'm kind of out of order.
What's your name?
How does the existing fire company, or your services that you provide, like my wife was on, how does that affect the budget?
We
You have a service.
we provide, well, keep in mind, Station 49, who covers all of East Brandywine Township, we offer a QRS service to the township, which responds with EMTs. We have a very good response rate. We have about 22 volunteer EMTs at this time. The fire company budget and the fire company QRS budget is a complete separate entity as to the ambulance service that you guys will have to, deal with. So it should not affect our service at all. We supplement, because we don't have enough ambulance calls right now to cover the township. The QRS service supplements the EMS service to the township, and that just falls under the fire company budget. We can't bill, we don't bill, and that's a complete volunteer basis, so we don't pay anybody to do that. But that is an integral part of the EMS. Just yesterday, the EMS service was able to resuscitate a 39-year-old guy, and had it not been for the QRS response, that outcome would not have been what it was. So we're very happy with the QRS that we have. Our Lieutenant Dave Quigley is in attendance for the EMS, but this is, in our opinion, a separate entity completely as to, so it shouldn't affect us at all. Yeah.
Right, you're your own separate entity.
Yeah.
You're your own
What does
501.
QRS stand for?
Quick response unit, quick response squad. Everything in that unit, Kristen, is there except the stretcher. Everything on our is the same as you would find in the ambulance, except can't put them in the back of it and take them to the hospital.
Great.
Yep.
And no charge.
No charge.
Well,
Correct.
thank you very much. Appreciate the update, and as I said, that would be my only thing, if we can get a breakdown for the 3.
Yeah, I'll give John an email and a call, and of course, Andrew can take that back to his
Great.
folks there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Luke for Chester County Process and Marketing Service.
Right. All right, so earlier this year, I approached the board about extending our waste hauler contract into a 4th year, which is an option per the contract. A maximum of 5 years, years 4 and 5 are optional. We have provided notice that we will be using the incumbent provider, which is AJ Blazinski, next year for curbside trash and recycling. That contract states that the township designates the tipping point for curbside recycling. In order to determine who we direct our hauler to deliver the recyclable material to, we participate in a Chester County multiple municipal process and marketing agreement. The county, on occasion, goes to bid and seeks someone to bid on multiple municipalities' recyclables in order to get the best rate on either the cost or the rebate for processing those materials. The county has just gone to bid, and they received one bid, and it is the incumbent, and that is Total Recycling in Birdsboro. There will be a meeting of the county, and at that meeting, I will be asked to commit the township to another cycle of directing our waste to that facility. There is no contract per se, but I did want the board's permission directing me to sign a letter or a memo of commitment stating that East Brandywine Township's volume will be directed to this provider. At the moment, we get about $4 a ton in back as a rebate for our recyclable materials. But it's market dependent and it changes monthly. So I guess the alternative would be that we would locate through our own process a point where we direct the recycling materials to go. I think there's a value add in doing that collectively. And I would recommend that we continue to participate in the process and marketing agreement.
Yeah. Any questions?
No. I'll make a motion that we authorize Luke to represent the township at the marketing services meeting.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
So you can negotiate whatever you want, Luke.
I appreciate your vote of confidence.
Okay, we don't have any subdivision zoning applications. We have no ordinance and resolution for consideration. Do we have any public comment on non-agenda items? I know, I gotta ask, so unfortunately, if you please come up.
Easy question. Easy question. Bondsville Mill, they need to provide a budget. When do you need that budget by?
That'll be, we haven't determined the dates yet.
Okay, I'm trying to push them because.
Correct, I saw your email.
We're trying to
Very
have
good.
multiple meetings and come up with budgets, so
Right.
you,
I would think it would be sometime in early September.
That's what I was gonna say.
okay,
Early to
that's
mid-
not far away, so.
No.
Okay.
Our organizational meeting for the Budget Committee, I believe, is the,
18th.
right,
And I'm trying to push them for a 5-year budget, so we can push it out as far as we can.
correct. But the most important is the 1 year,
3-year.
2 year, 3 year, and then,
Right.
Right.
Okay. I just want to hear it from you so I can tell them,
I'm just one member of the committee, so.
hear from all of you. I didn't hear from Jason.
I'm okay with what Carl said.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so for notices, the board did meet in executive session following their last evening meeting for personnel matters, and the board will be meeting again this morning following this meeting to discuss personnel matters. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.